Canada's food guide doesn't include a birthday cake, but maybe it could for this occasion. The iconic pamphlet is turning 70. Over the years, it's had new names, new looks, and new messages, but it's never wavered from its original purpose: get Canadians to eat healthy. But just how handy and helpful is today's food guide? The CBC's Melanie and Nagy found a family that was up to a challenge.
6 o'clock, home from work.
All right, here's the chicken.
Thank you.
But there's no time to rest. Dinner needs fixing and fixing fast. The kids need to be out the door and off to swimming lessons. Meet the Chens. Mary, Jim, and their children, Molly and Matthew. Like many today, a family on the run.
Okay, so stir it up. Do you think that's
In their mad dash of daily life,
swimsuit, goggles, and your hat?
meal planning isn't always a priority.
Okay, you guys ready?
Just how healthy are the Chens eating?
Okay, let's get going. I want to make sure you have all your stuff, right?
To figure that out, we grabbed Canada's food guide, that colorful handout designed to help people choose their food more wisely. Hey, Chen family, I have a challenge for you. I want you to follow Canada's food guide. The Chens will have to follow the guide to a T for at least 72 hours. What do you think?
Okay.
Yeah. Are you up for the challenge?
Sure.
Okay, but before you say you're fully up for the challenge, I just want to know, when's the last time you looked at this? Dad?
Oh, forever.
Not so familiar with the food guide? Don't worry, Chen family, you're not alone.
I've heard of it, but I haven't actually looked at it.
No, I don't know if it's a magazine or...
Is that the Ontario Foodland thing?
Canada's food guide is a daily eating plan that uses colors to group and highlight nutritious foods. Also listed, recommended number of servings and their sizes. It's been around since 1942.
Canadian tanks were brought up in strength.
It was a time of war, but also a time of want. Poor access to good, nutritious food led to malnutrition throughout the country.
The government responded by creating a national nutrition program.
Ian Mosby is a food historian. Back then, he says the food guide was called Canada's official food rules.
The key message of the food rules was really about the war effort and about Canadians being strong enough and healthy enough to fight a war. Part of their goal was convincing Canadians to eat more things like whole grains, milk, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables.
With the end of the war, Canadians' diets improved, but that didn't mean it was time to get rid of the food guide. It was no longer about malnutrition. It was now about instructing the housewife on how she should feed her family.
I want to find carrots, spinach, broccoli, green beans, even yellow turnip.
The food guide has undergone a number of revisions over the last 70 years. Today it comes in over 12 languages and is 6 pages long.
Vegetables and fruit, 6 grains of...
There's also an interactive web tool where people can get personalized recommendations. 2 days into their challenge, what do the Chens think of the guide? We gave them a video camera to track their progress.
So how much milk am I giving you? Am I giving you too much? What does it say there around meat and vegetables? How much is a portion? So do you think that's one baseball? I think that's one baseball.
I guess.
Sounds like the Chens are struggling when it comes to figuring out actual serving sizes.
I have to tell you what was interesting was trying to figure out how much a serving size was.
Critics of the guide say most people have no idea how to use it properly, that they're often left confused by counting grams, cups, and ounces, rather than making and enjoying healthy food.
I think the guide is there so that your family can understand what a serving is.
Mary Bush says the food guide is not meant to be a strict diet plan. It's supposed to be a roadmap to eating healthier. Bush should know. She oversaw the development of the last 3.
What the food guide does is lay out a pattern of eating based on the best evidence we have around what matters for health, both adequate nutrients as well as trying to limit excess to prevent chronic disease.
Obesity in Canada is a health concern. It's estimated about 60% of Canadians are at an unhealthy weight, and that's led to more cases of diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease. Critics say Food Guide advice doesn't go far enough. It doesn't scream out what not to eat, such as foods high in calories, sodium, and sugar, all things that can shorten your life. Bill Jeffrey is a food policy expert who has studied the Food Guide for years.
Calories and sodium are both mentioned in the Food Guide and some in several places, but it's not underscored how critical it is to control those. And one real deficiency in the Food Guide is not moving the very important information to the headlines. They kind of relegate it to almost to the fine print.
Lots of people expect that just putting out a food guide is going to change people's eating habits, that there's going to be a massive sea change in what people are eating. It was never intended to be that. It's there to provide to those who are wanting to consume a pattern of eating that makes sense the information that's needed.
So what about the Chen family? How did the food challenge go?
It went pretty well.
The Chens followed the guide for over a week, much longer than we asked them to.
I think the big challenge is, knowing what a portion is, knowing the size of how much you can eat for certain things.
But you are going to try to keep at it?
I think so.
Yeah,
I can't see why not.
Yeah.
Sure, it wasn't always easy, but in the end, they all agreed that Canada's Food Guide did help them make healthier choices.
Cheers. Cheers.
Yeah.
Melanie Nagy, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, back in 1942, Canada's official food rules were summed up in one page, and it wasn't even in color. And by today's standards, some of the rules are interesting. They recommended 1 serving of potatoes every day. They also said to be sure to eat 4 to 6 slices of bread, either white or brown, and a daily serving of meat or fish, and liver, heart, or kidney once a week.